Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining. This is the first ever Education on Air conference, and it consists of 46 Hangouts on a number of different topics in educational technology. On behalf of Google, I want to thank all of the presenters, including our presenter for this session, Sean, as well as all of the people attending and viewing this session. The sessions are being broadcast using Hangouts on Air. All of the presenters are have early access to that feature, which allows us to broadcast and record the Hangouts. And then you can view the sessions just by visiting the presenter's Google Plus page. There's a list of all of the sessions with links to the profile pages that you would visit in order to view them on the EduOnAir site. And you can get that site at sites.google.com/site/EduOnAir. That's sites.google.com/site/EduOnAir. And I'll paste a link to that site as well into the comments after we get started. Now I'd like to go ahead and introduce our speaker. Our speaker today is Sean Beavers. He's a former 4th and 5th grade math and science teacher from Cincinnati, Ohio. Currently, he's working for SOITA, which is one of 8 educational technology agencies in Ohio, helping educators to integrate the use of technology into the classroom and beyond. Sean is a Google Apps for Education certified trainer. He loves gadgets and enjoys sharing his passion for technology with anyone who will listen. And with that, let's hand it over to Sean.
All right, great. Thanks, Sarah. And thank you guys for joining me in the Hangout today. And for those of you who are viewing this Hangout on air, I just want to point out that if you do go to the website, and I believe Tia is going to drop that link in the comment stream, I did post a handout going over what we're going to talk about today, which is to turn Gmail into the heart of your digital life or your central communications hub. So, do check that out. If you forget something I said or you black out during the Hangout, or Sasquatch takes your webcam or something like that, you'll be able to follow along with what I'm doing. So what I'd like to do is have the people who are in the Hangout with us, if you want to introduce yourselves and a little bit about your background, what you do and where you're from, and rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10. Are you a Gmail newbie, or would you consider yourself a Gmail ninja? So whoever wants to jump right in and mute their mic.
I'll go first, I guess. Oh. I'll go ahead. My name is Erin Fliggy. I'm an instructional designer with Kaplan University. I have been using Gmail since it first went into beta in 2005. I think I was cleaning out my inbox the other day or sorting through things. I would probably rate myself a 7. And I don't know, I know earlier we were talking about our favorite lab, and my new favorite one is probably canned responses. So
that is an awesome lab. All right.
Oh, I guess it's my turn coming across the board. I'm Greg Marshall. I'm Director of E-Learning for Whatcom Community College in Bellingham, Washington. So I'm west coasting. It's only 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and it's sunny for a change. And I'm a technologist, been so for a long time. I started with Gmail back when they were doing invitations, and had an invitation. You know how hard I worked for that? And I'm probably an 8 or a 9 on the technology. I rely on it a lot. So and I'm using a lot of the lab thingies. I'm pretty boring. I kind of like the quick links and the lab or the nav bar drag. So
there's something boring about the quick links. If you want to quickly jump to a section of the settings or a search, it's great stuff. All right, let's move right across the participant windows here.
Hi, it's Julia Fallon. It's also another Washingtonian in the house here. I work with the Washington State Office of Superintendent of Public Instruction, which is also our Department of Ed here in the educational technology area. And I would say I'm probably a 6 in the Gmail area. I was there back in the invites. Let me just tell you that if you pick a popular sort of user ID, you get lots of crazy email for different people. I get a lot of email for Jimmy Fallon, and I think I'm going to write a book one day.
I was going to ask if you're related. I thought, hey, we got to...
We're not related.
Okay.
It's my married name, but I do get email for him, and it's been pretty funny because at first I thought it was a joke, and then over the years it's been more and more. But I'm definitely going to write a book. There's some funny emails that come my way from different people. I'm trying to think, labs-wise. I don't know. I don't think I have a favorite, so I'm just going to kind of leave it at that.
That's fine. All right, last but not least.
All right. Hi, everybody. I'm Paula Deal. I'm a retired teacher. I'm a library media specialist, and I'm an educational consultant now. Do a lot of tech training and professional development, but I especially do most of my work with EduOnAir, which is in Ohio, the state school library network that provides resources and just all kinds of things for supporting teaching and learning in school libraries. Well, I've been using Gmail a long time, and again, I was at the point when you had to be invited, and I would nudge. I think my daughter joined when she was in college, and she graduated in 2004, and I remember asking her to invite me so I could get in. And I was looking back at the labs as we were talking, and one I've used a lot lately is create a document out of your mail, and it goes into your Google Docs, and I didn't even realize it was a lab till I looked again. Like I've added them, and then I forget. And then when I teach Gmail to people, I'm always like, oh, you could do this cool thing, and then, oh, wait, it's a lab, wait. So it's interesting because I've done a lot of Google Apps for education, and sometimes there are a lot of things you can't do. This is a little frustrating sometimes. But anyway, I'm excited about today. Thanks, Sean.
All right, great. And it sounds like most of you who are in the Hangout, and maybe the people who are viewing this live, are fairly familiar with Gmail. So we don't have anybody who's just complete, like, what's a filter, what's a label, anything like that. Now, my second question would be, how many of you are using Google Voice? And I had put that as within the questions. If you're going to kind of, I guess, follow along and you wanted to set up your inbox, kind of like how I have mine, you would have to have a Google Voice account. Do any of you have it? Did you set it up? Have you been using Google Voice? What's been your experience with that?
I wanted to share. I've had a Google Voice number for a couple of years, and I'm not really using it, but I heard a fantastic webinar, and I can't even remember who gave it. I apologize. I'll get it for you guys. Last week, a teacher talking about using the Google Voice number for school and making that the number that the parents call. It just works out great to separate his private and his public life, and it keeps his cell phone number from without getting out there. And I thought, boy, that was terrific for any teacher.
Anyone else?
I was going to say, I would agree that that's a really cool use that I had never thought about. I've been using Google Voice for a couple of years. I started with using it as voicemail only on my phone because of the transcription. That is my favorite aspect of Google Voice. Because I hate having to dial in and listen to voicemail. Now that I run an Android phone, it's even easier, and that's part of why Google owns my life, I think, because I am an early Gmail user. I have an Android phone. I'm using Google Voice, and I really enjoy it for the transcription because, most of the time I can get a general gist of what the message is about, and I can call the person back without having to actually log in and listen to the whole thing. I do have to say one of the funniest transcriptions, I'll have to see if I can look it up in a minute, but it was something about elephants. It got translated. It was from my husband. It was not at all about elephants, but the transcription came through as elephants, and it made me laugh. So
I would say, just in my defense, that I haven't used Google Voice, but I use maybe 20 or 30 minutes a month of talk time. I don't use my cell phone as a cell phone. I'm very much don't want to be contacted in a voice way very often. I spend a lot of time online this way and that, and I max out my data plan every month. So I just don't. It's not something I use. I use a lot of the other tools.
Well, maybe I'll be able to get you to turn the corner today. So we'll see. And
we'll
the
see.
reason I asked that is a while ago I kind of had this epiphany about I guess my Gmail use and my use of the web in general. In that I love all of these other social networks, Google Plus and Twitter and Facebook, along with using Google Voice. But I find that I'm easily distracted. Like if I see a bright shiny piece of plastic, I'm like a raccoon. I have to go for it. And so it's the same way with my phone, where I feel this buzzing in my pocket, or it lights up, and I get a notification, and then I'm off task. I'm off task for a couple minutes, or I see that I get a Google Plus notification, and I have to go to Google Plus. And so I thought, okay, there has to be a better way to consolidate all of these services, because if I spend, let's say, roughly 30 to 40% of my time doing email, or I've always got my Gmail window open, why not have all of that kind of pulled into Gmail, and I'm not going to all these other websites. So it's going to make me more productive. I'm going to stay on task. And again, not be distracted by bright, shiny things. So that's kind of where this was born out of. And there's also an article a while ago on Lifehacker, and I don't know if all of you look at Lifehacker, but a wonderful website. And it was entitled Using Gmail as Your Central Communications Hub. And so that's where that light bulb kind of came on. And I was like, this is great. You know, I'm going to pull all this stuff in and get this to work. And it's been a learning process because some of the things that they suggested have changed or the ways that you do that. But that's really my goal today, is to walk you through how to kind of get your inbox set up. If this is something that you're interested in doing, you know, what are the steps that you need to take to do that? And that also is going to demonstrate some of the features of Google Voice and Gmail and some of the labs that are available. So again, there is a handout posted on the EduOnAir website under my session. So if you want to go back and print that out, it's a Google Doc, and you can use that for reference. All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. And I thought the first thing I would do is to show you my inbox. And so this is how I have mine set up. And I am using some Google Labs, and I guess I should preface this presentation by saying, you know, Google Labs can disappear at any time. They can break. They also might get graduated into Gmail, like Got the Wrong Bob or somebody mentioned, you know, with the forgotten attachments or those kinds of things. So, but I am using the multiple inboxes lab, which is how I have this set up. So I have my regular inbox. I have priority inbox turned off, but then I've got my voicemails being pulled in here, text messages. My mom texts me, which I wish she hadn't figured that out. It was nice when it was just the voicemails. Twitter, Facebook, and then Google+. And so those all get pulled into those separate inboxes instead of being in my main one. So I can focus on mail that requires my attention if it's work-related, personal or other. And then those notifications that I get from those social networks or from my voicemails or text messages will also not appear there. You know, they're going to be over in those other panes. So, you know, that's one purpose of setting this up. The other is that with Google Voice, I can have it send my phone calls to Google Chat, so it'll actually ring my inbox if I have an incoming phone call, if somebody uses my Google Voice number. And actually what I did on my phone is I just forwarded my number to my Google Voice, or, you know, my, I guess, traditional, quote-unquote, regular number to my Google Voice number, so that all my phone calls I can pick up in my inbox. I can also initiate calls from there if you're a Google Voice user, and also send and receive text messages. So it really is in a sense, the heart of my digital life, or the center of my communications, because I don't have to leave Gmail to do any of those things. I can answer my voicemails, I can send text messages, and I get those updates for Twitter and Facebook, etc. So I don't know, anyone who's in the Hangout right now, do you use any of those features? Do you have any of that enabled? Are you making phone calls from your Google, you know, from Gmail, sending text messages, any of that?
I'm not currently, but I did consider looking into it. My new position that I just started is a remote position, and I looked at that as possibly a way to have a work, quote-unquote, phone number. And I just, because the Kaplan has just switched to Gmail apps for education as well, and so I was looking at, could I integrate all of that, and I just haven't looked at it enough yet. So that's kind of why I was interested in the session today, is to kind of learn more about how you're doing that and what other possibilities might be to kind of integrate that as one, exactly just one dashboard, one central location.
Right. And can you guys still hear me? Okay, it looks like my video froze. Hopefully it'll unfreeze here in a minute. But yeah, that's the idea, that you have one dashboard. You know, we use all these services across the web. However, trying to visit all those sites and trying to, you know, update your statuses and look at your notifications can be, like I said, a real distraction. So one of the first things that you're going to do to get this set up is to enable a couple of Gmail labs. And I'll go back here and share my window. And so what you're going to want to do is go into your settings. And, you know, for those of you who might be streaming this and not familiar with Gmail or with Labs, you're going to go into your settings, and there should be a tab there called Labs. And there's actually 3 that you're going to want to enable. And so the first one is multiple inboxes, and so you can actually just start typing. That's what that search is for. You know, of course, you could scroll through them, but that's much faster. So you want to type multiple inboxes, and you can enable that one. So you're going to click the Enable Radio button. but don't save your changes just yet. The other one that you want to enable is SMS, text messaging, and chat if you're interested in sending text messages through the chat window in Gmail. And then the third one that you want is the Google Voice player in Mail, so that as you have those voicemail messages come in, not only will you get the translated version, but you can also then play that message back right within the email. So again, it's multiple inboxes, SMS in chat, and then the Google Voice player in Mail. So that's really the first thing that you would want to do, is to enable those 3 labs if you haven't already done that. That's the first step. Then the next thing would be to think about, how do you want to set up those multiple inboxes, or what do you want to have what do you want to have pulled into them? So for example, instead of text messages, I could set up one where it has my chat histories, if that's something that's valuable to you.
Sean, I'm going to interrupt you just for a second. There's some comments that Donato, Shannon, Warren are raising that they're having trouble seeing the screen share. Do you think maybe you could put it up again just so they can get a look again at what you were doing?
Sure. Hold on one second. Let me share my screen.
All right. Commenters, please confirm whether you could see what he's doing now. I think we'll assume that they've seen now where you were, if you want to keep going. And I'll follow up in the comments to let them know.
Sure, absolutely. So that's step number 1. Step number 2 is to set up your labels. And so not your labels, your filters. So if I go to my filters, I've already got these ones set up for Facebook and Google Plus and Twitter, voicemail, and text messaging. And so again, in the handout, I have listed, what those filters are and how you want to set them up. But basically, at the bottom of that filters window, you're going to click Create a New Filter. And for example, if I want to do my voicemails, it is voice hyphen, whoops, let me spell voice right, voice hyphen no reply at google.com. And so that's for your voicemails that you'll be getting through Google Voice. So that's the first step, is to set up that criteria for the filter. Then I'm going to click Create Filter with this search. And it's going to find 12 other matching conversations because I just started forwarding my voicemails to my inbox. And you want to tell it to skip the inbox because, again, you want it to show up in that other pane. You don't want it to actually be in your main inbox and cluttering that up. And then apply the label. And if you haven't already made a voicemail label, you want to go ahead and do that. And one of the options there should be New Label. So if I click on that, I would just type in voicemails. And you actually have to separate it because Gmail already has a voicemails label, so you have to actually create it as 2 words. Or you could come up with whatever you wanted to.
Sean, I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt you one more time.
Sure.
Would you mind flipping back to your Hangout window, and could you click on the box in the bottom that has your presentation on it? We think that might help maximize it. If you click on it, it should get like a bar around it.
Yeah, it does. See if that helps.
All right, I'll let you continue, and again, let me know in the comments, folks.
Or if I have to, I can try to resize my screen and see if that helps. So, again, that's the second part of the process. You've got the labs enabled. You're going to set up these filters. And so the first one for voicemail, again, is voice-no reply at google.com. You're going to create that label and then click Create Filter. And so that's the first one I would set up. For the text messages, and let me go back to my settings here. And I'll find that one in my list. There we go. This is the one for text messages. So if you'd like to forward all your text messages that people are sending you through your Google Voice number, it's text.voice.google.com. So you would put that in the from field. So text.voice.google.com. And then the second part of this, it's really rinse repeat. So you're going to tell it to skip the inbox, because it, again, is going to appear over there on the right-hand side or wherever you choose to put your multiple inboxes. And then you're going to click Apply the Label. And if you don't have a label for your text messages already, you'll just click Create New Label and do one for your text messages.
Okay, I apologize. I'm going to interrupt one more time. It sounds like your screen is still showing as the thumbnail. I'm not totally sure why that is. Maybe we can start and restart the screen share. And as long as you've clicked on it so that it's big, I think that's the best we can do. If it's still not showing, I think it just might be a technical problem. So I'll report that to the Hangouts team and let them know. And we'll make sure that we, like Sean said, he has a document that can help guide you through some of these topics. And we can make sure that we share the content too, so that if you can't see it right now, you can at least see the instructions later for how to set it up.
All right, let me try it again, Sarah. I made it full screen instead of resizing it, so let me see if that.
I think that the problem is that it's not appearing in the top box. They're seeing the thumbnail across the bottom. So I think if in your window, if you're seeing it as the big box.
No, I'm seeing it as the big box, yes.
Yeah, so it might just be a technical problem. There are questions we're getting about whether the participants are muted. I think everybody is muted at this point. So it might just be a technical issue. And again, I'm really sorry, guys, about that, and we'll make sure that we get you the instructions.
And I did sticky the window, so it should stay. I've got my fingers crossed. So that covers your voicemails and your text messages. And then if you want to set up the social networks, each one of these is a little bit different. So for Google Plus, it's at plus.google.com. So if you want to have a section of your multiple inboxes just for your Google Plus notifications, that's what that one would be. Again, it's at plus.google.com. And then we'll go back here. And Facebook and Twitter are also very similar to that one. So if I go into my Facebook, Facebook is at facebookmail.com. That's what you would put in the from field, at facebookmail.com. And then if I scroll down, I'll find my Twitter filter. And that one is at postmaster.twitter.com. So each of them are a little bit different. So, and you're going to put that information in the from field. And then if you haven't created those labels, go ahead and do that. So that's the first two parts of that. You're going to enable those labs, and then you're going to set up those filters ahead of time before you have those. I mean, you might already have those updates coming into your Gmail inbox, but you want to do that before you turn on anything else. And just one little tip that I found helpful is you probably want to color code those labels if you haven't already done that. So, you know, I have Google Plus as red, I have Twitter as a shade of blue, Facebook is a different shade of blue, and it also looks pretty. I mean, who doesn't want to sort of spice up their inbox, give it some flair? So I'm all about, you know, the flair. All right, well, this would be a good stopping point if anybody has any questions, or Sarah, if there's any other questions besides not being able to see my screen share.
Yeah, most of them have so far been about your screen share, but yeah, please ask your questions and I'll pass them along.
All right, and we just lost, I think, Paula, correct?
We're trying to troubleshoot the problem. She'll be right back.
Okay. All right, our Hangout is, we're still stable. All right. Then, now we're going to take a look at the settings for Google Voice. All right, so I'm going to open up my Google Voice account. And you can get to it just by going to google.com/voice. And I'll go ahead and share my screen again so you can see that. And when you sign up for this, and if you haven't already, you can port your current cell number if that's what you'd like to do. And actually, one of my coworkers ported his home number. He first ported it to a Go phone on AT&T and then ported his home number to Google Voice. But do be aware if you do port your number that it will cancel your cell service if you're still under contract with Verizon or AT&T or Sprint. So what you want to do is create a new Google Voice number unless, like I said, you're not under contract.
So if you ported your mother's number and didn't tell her, you wouldn't get any more messages from her.
Yes, that is a good point. I probably also wouldn't get any more birthday cakes, so I don't think that's an option for me. It's cake or text messages, so cake's going to win. All right, so I'm going to go back in and let me share my screen here, and I'll sticky it, so hopefully everybody can see that. And this is my inbox, and what I want to do is go to my settings, and there's a couple of things that you want to enable to get all of this to function properly. In the first tab underneath phones, you want to check off where it says forward calls to Google Chat. So you want to be able to pick up your phone calls from your Gmail inbox. And if you don't want to, that's fine. But if you do want to be able to pick up your phone calls, you are going to click on that or check that box off. That's the first one that you want to do. Then underneath voicemail and text, there's an option there. It says voicemail notifications, alert me when I have a new voicemail, and you're going to check off email the message to, and it should default to your Gmail address or whatever address that you have associated with this Google Voice account. Now you can add other email addresses if you wanted to and forward it to that, but it's only going to send it to one at a time. So that's why I'm going with my Gmail address. Then with the text forwarding, I would check that box off, and it says forward text messages to my email, and again it's going to pick my remedy1978@gmail.com, and I'm going to click Save Changes. So that's the gist of the settings that you're going to play around with in Google Voice. You can certainly, underneath calls, and I think this is what Sarah mentioned, you can enable, let's see where it is. Maybe I'm on the wrong tab. But I know there's an option in there where you can have it send you a transcription of the voicemail. Maybe I'm just missing it at this point. But you want to enable the forwarding of your text messages, the forwarding of your phone calls, and then also check that box that it'll ring your Gmail chat as well as your phone. So Google Voice does a lot more than that, but for what we're talking about today, that's what you want to do. All right.
I have a question
Sure.
about voice. So now that I've been humiliated that I don't have a number, I'm over here playing with it. And do you need to have a number from your area, or can you pick your favorite city that has numbers? What's the advantages or disadvantages to that?
That's a really good question, and I probably should have said something about that when you are signing for Google Voice. Yeah, you're absolutely right. You can choose any area code that you want. So, for example, I live in Cincinnati, but I could have picked an area code for Toledo or Cleveland or Washington, D.C. for that matter, or really any place. So, yeah, absolutely, you can do that. You don't have to pick your area code.
Cool.
Speaking of signing up for Google Voice, there was one comment as well, which is just a reminder that if you're under a contract, if you ask your carrier to assign a new number to your phone number that's under the contract, then you can port your number without breaking your contract.
Excellent.
I was going to say, I have looked at, with being a remote employee, that was actually something I looked at, is getting a number that wasn't an Iowa number, but getting a Chicago number, because it's like, well, it doesn't really matter, and technically my office location is Chicago, and so that's actually kind of the fun part about it. Or I know people that have, say, a child's going away to college, they'll get a local number, not that that's as big a deal with cell phones, but, if you've got family, say, in one area of the country and you've moved somewhere else, that's kind of a nice ability as well.
Yeah, and my situation's a little bit similar to yours, whereas my wife is from New York, and so we're actually on a family plan, and like I said, my number is a 914 area code, but since I live in Cincinnati, it's good to have a 513 because a lot of times you'll call people and they'll freak out. They'll think you're a telemarketer or something because you've got that different area code. So for work or for personal use, it works out really well.
And I wanted to add that I'm looking actually to get rid of our home phone, so I found a number that was really close to the old number. Just the first 3 digits were different. The last 4 were the same area code, so that people could remember it pretty easily.
Or you might have luck, like I said, porting it. If you talk to your telephone company and say, I want to port this, and just pick up a Go phone, for whatever it is, a couple of bucks, and then put it on there, and then you could just port it right to your cell
we're
phone.
really close. It's you believe it or not, it's the house alarm is the issue. It's not breaking the thing, it's the house alarm. I've gone cable free though. I'm almost there.
That's a good feeling. All right, so next, and this is really sort of the last piece of this whole puzzle, is you want to set up those multiple inboxes. So if I go back to my inbox, and I'll try sharing the screen here again. Hopefully this will be successful. There we go. and I'll sticky that window. So once you've got that, those things set up, then you're going to go back to your Gmail settings, and you want to click on multiple inboxes, and that'll show up after you enable that lab. Otherwise, you're not going to have that option. And you can really set up the panes any way that you want to. I mean, I don't think there's any hard and fast rule in terms of any order. It's really and again, I wanted to, as an aside, that's one of the reasons I love Gmail is I feel like I can customize it and make it the way that I want it to work. I don't feel like I'm locked in, and this is how you do email, and this is the only way to do email. So I think that's a really big plus for using Gmail. But anyway, you can set these panes any way up that you want. But what you'll do for each of them, and there's 5, you're going to put in your search query, and that's where we're going to go back to the labels you created. So you're going to type label : and then type in the name of the label that you wanted to search for. So my first one's voicemail, so it's label : voice-mails. So if you have a space separating the 2 words, you want to put in a hyphen, and then I name the panel voicemails. And then I went through and did the same for those other 4. So my next one is label : text-messages, and the panel title is text messages. So you'll go through and put in your search query and then also your panel title. And it's set those up any way that you want to. The other things that you have to decide are, how many items do you want to see in each of those panels or panes, because you can't archive them. They're not, I mean, you can archive them, but they're not going to go away automatically like it would from your inbox. So you're going to see the 3 most recent or the 4 most recent, Google Plus updates or the most recent Facebook updates. So you want to think about, how many do you want to see at one time? And it works very much almost like if you think about a post on a blog where the older text messages or the older phone messages will then be moved down as the new ones come in underneath those panes. And I have mine off to the right of my inbox, but you can put it off to, I believe, not off to the left. Sorry, you can put it above or below your inbox, depending on where you want to put it or where it works for you. Is everybody busily? Looks like everybody's busily setting this up or playing around.
We're all focused and paying attention.
Excellent, Tiny Grasshopper. All right, perfect.
I'm going to give another quick plug for the people who are just tuning in and are also noticing the screen sharing issues. If you go to sites.google.com/site/EduOnAir, click on the schedule, and then scroll the whole way to the bottom, click on this session, and then scroll the whole way to the bottom, and there's a link to Sean's handout. And you can use that to follow the steps if you can't see the screen share. I also posted it in a comment on the main post and over on YouTube.
Yes, and I do apologize for that. I'm not sure what the hang-up is with this today. That's the hard stuff. I mean, that's what you've laid the foundation. If you do those steps, that's you've done the bulk of the work. The other part of this, if you're again with the social networks, is you're going to want to go into the individual settings for Google Plus or your individual settings for Facebook or Twitter, and go through and say, here's what I want to be notified about. When somebody adds me to a circle on Google Plus or tags me in a photo, what are the things that you would like to be updated, and have those come into your inbox. And if I go into my Google Plus here, and share my window here again. If I go to my settings, and we'll just use this as an example, but it would be very similar for the other, and you could do the same thing with LinkedIn if you wanted to. I'm going to check off, what do I want to be notified about? So it mentions me in a post. I want to get an email, and I also want to be notified on my phone. But you would do that for each of those services. So I would go through here and say, okay, what would I like to be emailed about? And then once I'm done with Google Plus, then I'm going to go through, do the same thing with my Facebook account, and then say, okay, I want to be notified about when somebody tries to add me as a friend or post on my wall. And then finally, I would do that with Twitter and go into my Twitter settings and check off, if I go into my account and I go to my notifications, I'm going to check off the ones that I'd like to be notified via email. So that's really the final piece of this, and the easiest piece is to go through and decide what things you want to be notified and which ones you don't.
So can I ask a quick question, just because
Sure.
I don't have access? Does anybody know if all of these functionalities work for any schools that have set up the Google Apps for Ed? You know, those sorts of, the Google Gmail and everything else for schools. I'm wondering if some of this functionality is available to them.
I can field that question, or Sarah, if you want to chime in. I know that if you're administrator of your domain for Apps for Education, if they have checked off if labs are they're allowed to be enabled, or if they have chat enabled, yes, these things should work. If it doesn't show up for you immediately, then that might be something that they have turned off, and that you might have to talk to your administrator, or I don't know, make them a really nice muffin and see if they'll do that for you.
Oh no, we just get we field those questions, and since we don't have it at the state level, it's always like, well, I have to ask because we don't have access to it here.
Right.
I would just add that I'm on a never-ending quest to condense everything into the fewest programs. As a technology person for my school, my other duties assigned for the last 17 years here has been to share technology. So between Google Reader and learning about new things and then sharing it, and then Facebook and Twitter and that. I noticed you were bringing your Facebook feeds and your Twitter feeds and that, but this just is going to help condense even a little farther. And I would just add, too, for the Google people listening, like Sarah, that the more we can bring these pieces together, it just helps us as we have to connect, and some of us have to be super social because we have hundreds of people that are listening to what we say, and I know that I can, like Sean, spend a lot of time connecting, and the more we can condense that down. So this just helps me condense a little bit farther down. Maybe I don't have to click as many times during the day. So if that makes any sense. So.
No, absolutely. And like I said, that was my goal from the outset, because you do. I mean, whether it's for, like you said, for professionally or personally, you want to, like, for example, I try to tweet out resources or try to post things on Google Plus that are relevant to educators. I'm not just saying, hey, I had a delicious sandwich for lunch or something like that. And it does require a bit of upkeep. And like you said, if you can condense that and pull it down into as few services as possible, you're going to be more productive, or you're going to spend less time managing all of those accounts.
It is something, too, that we're always thinking about here. You've probably seen a bunch of small steps in this direction, specifically with Gmail and Google+. For example, if somebody sends you a video in Gmail, you can hover over it and share it to Google+ right from Gmail, or an inline image, or you can see recent posts from Google+ in the People widget, or add people to circles. So we are aware that you might want to take some of these social actions from one centralized location, like from within Gmail, and it is something that we're always thinking about trying to improve further.
I think it becomes a critical step, and especially as we're trying to get faculty and that to use these tools, is that integration piece. It's no longer useful to have standalone tools. It has to have easy integration, not just within, I think, Google tools, but also with all the other tools out there. That's a big tall order, but I love how this is starting to bring things in, and we can say, look, you can go here and do everything. It's one of the big reasons I'm a Google fan, is I have everything on top of my screen. I got my Reader and YouTube and my Drive. I'm big on Drive already, and it's all there. So that's a very powerful feature when you can condense things down. So.
And there are services, that I was looking at that you can pull in, and they're third party. So, I guess it's up to you whether you trust your credentials with them or not. But, you can tweet through, your email client, so you could tweet through Gmail. There's a couple services that do that, and I'm sure there's ways to do, to post to Google Plus or to post to Facebook through your email, if that's something that you want to do, not just have those updates pulled into your inbox.
I just want to add that it's a little trickier, I think, for the K-12 audience and everything else. I know that there's a lot more freedoms to be had at the post-secondary level, but we're still mucking around with what's available. I know that a lot of districts will want to shut off things like having Twitter come in and that sort of thing. So I like the idea of like a dashboard, but it's also balancing what is the word? The perception of distraction for students.
We have a lot of the same problems. Well, we're in Washington State together with FERPA law, and making sure that educators in K-12 has this problem, but especially in the college level, not to share sensitive information in some of these tools. We almost need a tool that allows us to put that flashing warning on the screen, don't share sensitive information. We want them to use tools, but at the same time they have certain things they're not supposed to share in the different tools. So that's the big issue with us, especially e-learning, that we want people to use tools and be more effective, but at the same time there's certain rights that students have, whether they know it or not, and we have to defend those rights at the same time. So.
Mm-hmm. I think a lot of this goes back to, especially K-12, a couple of issues. One, it's time for people to revisit their acceptable use policies, realize that students want to use social media, that they should be, that teachers, we should all be using the power of it, especially in light of 21st century learning and now the Common Core too. And so I think that's really important, and revisit the filtering and who's in charge of filtering. Shouldn't the teachers as professionals be able to be part of that dialogue? And I was lucky I was in a school district where we pretty much could unblock whatever we wanted, and we could talk, you know, as a group, and it was wonderful. A lot of intellectual freedom there. But there are just so many issues that, you know, just saying no, you can't use anything because they're afraid, and they don't understand the different, you know, issues and the different laws, and it just really, I think it's time we all need to go back and look at it again.
Well, the good news is the FCC order that came out last summer, though, basically stated that we shouldn't be blocking Facebook and things like that under SIPA, under the Child Internet Protection Act. So as a state person, I've been going out and letting people know that if they choose to do that, it's a local decision. It's not a state decision. It's not the feds. You're choosing as a district or a community to do that sort of thing. So, but, you know, talking about the big ideas of digital citizenship, how to act appropriately,
Yes.
And that sort of thing. But I guess there's still a liability issue that districts are trying to get through when it comes to FERPA, when it comes to SIPA, and also then we have COPA, but COPA really isn't a district thing. It's more of an internet service provider or web services provider issue where people want to use the tools, but if you have children under the age of 13, who gets to use it and that sort of thing.
I know at my wife's school, she works in the elementary system, all the children, you can photograph all the children and use them on your websites and that are school related, and the parents know at the beginning of the year they have to opt out, that they're told they're opt in unless they opt out, and it's very clear. And because of that, they enjoy it. The parents love it. They see pictures of the activities that are going on every day. The teachers can use their cell phones and take pictures and put them up on the web, and it's a lot more wholesome, what's the word I'm looking for, a lot more engaging experience with the parents in that, and the grandparents, and because of that, so they've taken a little different tact in a lot of schools, and said, you know, within these confines, you're free to use the tools and to use the pictures and to use the stuff the students are creating on the websites.
Hey, Sean, I have a question for you. Do you have any tricks or strategies that you use for, I mean, if everything came to one spot, I would be very distracted, even if it was in my pocket. Does it make sense? Like, I know it won't be buzzing my pocket, but now it's on the screen. Do you have any strategies that you use to kind of keep yourself on task, whether you're in your inbox or you're doing your thing?
I mean, you can certainly, and I can try to demo this. I can call my inbox, but you can ignore the call. I mean, you can certainly, you know, and that's why, again, you've got those separate panes so that, you know, you're focusing on that main column, or if you have those other ones underneath your inbox. But I really use, like Sarah said, I use the superstars all the time. I mean, that's, I guess, how I really get through my mail, and I assign emails a priority using those different stars, and that's how I just get to, you know, inbox 0 is just, you know, this needs to be addressed now, this one doesn't, and stuff that I don't star, I don't get to. But I mean, I don't know. I don't find that's distracting to me. I mean, at least, but, you know, like I said, you kind of have to set it up so that you're only being notified about the things that you want to. Like, if somebody comments on your post, it may not matter that somebody tagged you in a photo. You can deal with that later. But if somebody posted something or or on Twitter tweeted, retweeted something you said, I don't know. Those kinds of things might be important to you.
Like, how many filters do you have, I guess, is really, I'm thinking, like, I could do a lot of stuff through filtering, and, if it deals with some sort of policy thing, it can go into its own little folder where it's just a, notify or something, but how are you with your filters?
Are you talking about in Gmail?
In Gmail, so that you're kind of sorting and...
I probably have about 30 or 40.
Okay.
Yeah. I wanted to say that I also have a ton of filters, and I put... I've used the multiple inboxes, but I found it better just filtering everything. But the one thing I love about Gmail is that I have 4 different email accounts for different work and personal and everything going through my Gmail, and I set up the different
aliases, right?
Yes, and I can mail out, like for my InfoHio work, I can mail out as InfoHio. I can use my signature for InfoHio, and it changes as I choose where I want to mail from. And that has been the greatest time saver. And I'm not constantly jumping between all these emails and opening all these windows. It's all in one place. That's really why I love Gmail. Plus the multiple calendars. I could not live without my multiple calendars. And I'm always trying to get everybody to make a Google Calendar so we could share. That's the best thing, I think, too.
I know when I go out and do a Google training and then somebody's like, I'm still using a desk blotter, it's just like a total facepalm. You're like, oh my God, I cannot, And then I pose the question, that's all well and good. What happens if there's hypothetically a fire or something happens in your desk blotter? Do you have one like in an emergency glass case that you break that and pull out your backup desk blotter? I mean, what's your, or people carry those day runners. I just don't understand how you do that, but.
One question I have on filters and I guess mainly filters, is there going to be a way, the one thing that Gmail really misses the mark for me is the ability to say delete after a certain day. So because like certain things, I get emails about posts or about a sale at Target. Well, I want to see that for like a week, but in another week I'm going to get another email, and I just want that old one to disappear. And I already automatically archive those, and I know Gmail says, oh, you never need to delete anything, but things like that, I have no need to keep them. Right now what I do is I have a reminder that goes off at the end of every month, and I just go through and I just kind of mass delete, thankfully, to keyboard shortcuts, my other favorite thing in Gmail. But I just didn't know if there's something I'm missing or if this is a feature that might be added soon.
Sarah?
So it's definitely one that we know about. We've definitely heard it before. There are some steps or some I guess similar features that exist. So if you're on Google Apps for your domain, I think it might be the business edition, and it potentially might be also edu, but I'm not totally sure on that. There's like an email retention setting where you can choose to like expunge everything. That is different from selectively saying if a message meets these criteria, delete it after a certain number of days. We do know about that request. I generally can't talk about features that are, or when or whether something will come, but I can at least tell you that we do know about it. And in the meantime, there are a lot of really cool things that people can do with AppScript. There's an AppScript out there called Snooze, and that one will move your messages based on a certain period of days. You kind of like a snooze button. You say, like, bring this back to my inbox, in 10 days from now. I haven't done it, and I'm not quite technical enough to do it myself, but I would bet that there is a way using AppScript to say, move messages from this label into the trash after a certain number of days. And that maybe that's a request for anybody who's technical, or if somebody knows of one that already exists, maybe if you can link it in the comments. So we do know about it. Actually, while I'm unmuted, I want to raise, Darren wrote a comment about using Google Voice in the business and home setting. I'll just read it. He says, I use Google Voice in a business setting and home setting. For instance, after 4 to 6 rings or busy signals, my home phone forwards to my Google Voice number. So after 4 to 6 rings or busy signal, people can leave a message and are notified, and we are notified via Gmail about the message. So it's nice to have Google Voice store the voice messages, and we can pull them up anywhere. So that's another tip from Darren. And there was also a tip or a question from Janet about labs, since we've talked about using multiple inbox, for example, where if a labs feature breaks, if you have trouble, well, she asked or pointed out that you might have trouble if it breaks, and I would like to point out at the tip that there is an escape hatch where if you put $labs equals 0 at the end after gmail.com, it will disable all of your labs if you ever have that problem.
Excellent. I didn't know that. That's great. So just to show you, that kind of go back to the inbox and just show you how this works once you have it set up. I mean, I know you've seen the inbox with the multiple panes, but with the texting and phone calls, I just wanted to show that before we conclude. So I'll go back to my screen share here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to call myself using my work phone, and I should be able to pick it up in my inbox. So you should see it pop up there momentarily. I don't know if I don't have my window big enough. Well, it should have popped up. I'm not sure why it's not, but normally down in the lower right-hand corner you'll get a pop-up and you can answer the phone call. With the voicemails, if I go into this one, there's the transcription. I left myself a message. I said, hey, this is me, just want to leave a message, and it was supposed to be, I think, I just want to leave a message, great, thanks. I don't know where the couple came from, but when you enable that lab, you can actually play that back, so I can hit the play button and listen to that message. And then with the text messages, it's really nice because I can reply right from within the email. So here's a text message from my mom, and I can click reply. Now, the one thing my friend pointed out to me, and I didn't know this, is that you really want to clear this out because all of this in the message will actually go into the text message they receive. So you want to kind of clear out your signature or anything else in the message, but I can say, tell my mom to have a great day, and I can send that, and now she'll receive the text message. So that's one of the other nice things about setting this up, is that I can reply to those text messages, not only get the notification in my inbox, but I can just reply to that email, and the person who sent it will get the message. So it really is the one-stop shop for all of your communication needs if you take the time to set it up. All right, any comments from the panel or any thoughts before we end the Hangout?
I'm just trying to figure out how to connect Evernote now with Gmail. I mean, I've gotten stuff going. I've gotten stuff going from Gmail to Evernote via my email from Evernote, but if those two worlds could collide, my life would be a lot easier, I think.
Let me share something with you. Your mind is going to be blown. Your mind and your brain and your head, yeah. So there is a service out there called If This Then That, and there's other ones that do something similar. And I came across this, and I love this service. So what you do is you create an account. So I'll go ahead and sign into mine. Let me go to the page here. And this does exactly what you want to do. But see, it's not just Evernote. It's Blogger and all kinds of different services. So you've got these different channels, and these are the ones that I've pulled in, and hopefully you guys in the Hangout and the people streaming can see this. Then if I click Get More Channels, there's something in the chat. These are all the ones that you can add. So Evernote, Dropbox, Digo, Delicious, Blogger, a lot of these different cloud services. And once you've got those added, then you create what they call tasks. And so, it's based on a statement. If this happens, then what is the end result? And you can create your own. So I can just click Create New Task. And so I can say, if this happens, so let's say if something, and I thought I had added my Evernote account. I don't know why it's not showing up. So anyway, you pick a trigger. So let's say I want to do Gmail. And then I can say a new email from, or new email labeled, or let's say new email from search. And I'll just do Google Plus because that's easy. So I can say create trigger, and then you basically tell it what happens. Okay, there's Evernote. And then I won't go through the process of activating it, but then you can have it do different things. You don't have to create your own. You can actually go up to the top here, and they have recipes created by other if this then that users. So you can do a search, like you could type in Evernote and see the ones that are already there. And Twitter fave to Evernote, start an email in Gmail, send it to Evernote. I mean, all kinds of different ones. And then these are pre-created, so you just click the button and it automatically creates that service for you. So that's kind of a neat thing that I came across that might fill that function of what you want to do.
I feel like we need more time to set all this stuff up. That's really what it is. Because I got as far as creating an if-then, like if this, then that account, and that's as far as I went. I haven't gone back to set up any recipes yet.
I was going to say, I've heard of if this, then that, or yeah, if this, then that, but I've never really used it, and so this gives me some ideas maybe, because I think Lifehackers talked about it. Lifehacker is my distraction black hole if I let it become that. So.
Yeah, it really can be. They have, they'll have some new extension or some new web app or something, and you're like, oh my God, it's total time suck. All right.
Well, I just want to say thanks. This has been a really awesome session and definitely given me some new ideas on ways to use Gmail. So thanks.
Great. Yeah, and thank you guys very much for joining me today and being part of this I guess, first ever on-air conference. And I do want to mention that we are, and my screen keeps freezing. Can you guys still hear me? Mm-hmm. We're doing one of these actually in Ohio. Myself and 2 other tech coordinators in Ohio do a podcast. It's called The State of Tech. And if you go to our website, thestateoftech.org, we're going to be doing a PD in your PJs event, which is going to be very similar to this. It's going to be June 16th from 12 to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And so we're going to try, like I said, do sort of along the same lines with having different presentations and do it all using Google On-Air Hangout. So be looking for more information about that. We just put out a call for presenters, so hopefully we'll get some of the people from today.
I just want to thank Sean one more time and also thank the attendees for the great discussion. I want to thank everybody who was watching and sharing comments and questions on the posts, and also apologize again for the technical problems that we had, and give you one more plug to please see the doc that I linked in the comments, or you can find it on the EDU site for the steps that Sean went through today.
All right. Thanks, Sarah. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Sean.
Thanks, everyone.